Hey everybody, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the Far Cry 5 arcade editor's environmental settings. Now, I'm going to be teaching you guys some lighting techniques, how to utilize things like fog, post effects, ambient sounds to make your maps look and feel absolutely stunning. Now, what you're seeing on screen now is what you're going to be learning how to do. And here's a little mini speed build of me putting together the terrain for it. If you're interested in learning exactly how I do that, that will be the next upcoming tutorial, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. But today, we're focusing on environment. Now this is something that is so overlooked by a lot of people. You know, a lot of people know how to use the terrain tools, they know how to make good looking stuff, but they overlook the environment around them. The things I'll teach you today, you can apply to any situation. You know, this is a forest that we're learning about, but if you're making a desert, you know, whatever it is, you can take these, use them on your map, and I promise you it will positively affect the quality of your maps. So I hope you guys enjoy, and alright, let's get into it. So let's go ahead and open up our menu, head into environment and audio, and here we have a ton of different options. Day-night cycle, weather, fog, backdrops, post effects, and audio. All of which obviously have to do with creating an environment. So the first thing we're going to touch on is the most basic, which is day and night cycle. So as you can see, there's a lot of different stuff in this menu that we can change. We have the latitude of the sun and the moon, which allows us to move it up and down within the sky. Then we have the angles, which allow us to move them from left to right. And then we can actually change the phase of the moon, which is pretty cool, as well as the size. And then we have the colors that will alter the color of them, and sky occlusion, which is how much the objects within the map are actually affected by the sky. So what we're going to go for is that late afternoon look. In order to do that, what we need to do is take our latitude, which like I said is up and down, and we'll go ahead and drop the sun lower to the ground here. And you can see as it gets lower and lower, it creates that kind of, you know, sunset or, you know, morning time horizon look. So that's a pretty good spot. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take the angle of the sun and we're going to go ahead and move it around this way. Now I'm going to try and get it to go behind this rock here. So we'll keep moving it, and it looks like it might be, actually that's pretty good. So one thing I would recommend is go ahead and fly to the ground. And as you can see, when you're actually on ground level, the sun is too low. It's still behind the rock. So I'm going to go ahead and take the latitude here and raise it. That way the sun peeks over the rock like that. And alright, perfect. So I think that looks cool for what I'm going for. I don't need to touch the moon because it's daytime, obviously. And I'm not going to play around with the colors because if you notice, if I start to turn them up, you know, it looks kind of weird. You know, that's good for certain situations, but not this where we're making a forest. You know, playing with the colors generally doesn't look too good. So we're done with the day and night cycle. The next thing we're going to head into is weather. Now this is really important too. So the first thing we can change here is the sky, which really changes the way your map looks as a whole. As you can see when I change it, I mean it changes all the colors. It changes the lighting of the sky, the clouds, how the sun looks. So there's a lot of different options that you can go through here. The one I'm going to use is, I think we'll try Horizon 3 and see how that looks. So I think that looks okay. I'll try one more. Now it does take a second when you change settings for everything to kind of update and look good. Now actually, I'll stick with 2. That looks the best to me. And then we have clouds, which are, you know, pretty straightforward. You can go ahead and just change the clouds. One thing to take note of here is that the clouds will actually change how the sun gives off light. You know, if you use big sky clouds, it's going to make the sun dimmer. You know, that it's pretty obvious that different clouds in the sky affect that. So we'll go ahead and use, and actually this one here completely cuts out the sun. So I think this one looks good to me, big sky 4. Then we have the height of the clouds, pretty straightforward. And then we have the shadow of the clouds. If you change this, you know, we'll make it look like there's clouds in the sky and the sun is making shadows with them. Then we have wind force. This is really, really important because if you look at the foliage around me, it looks just kind of static. It's not really moving too much. If you start to turn this up, you'll notice that the leaves will start to blow like there's a light breeze. And this is really, really important because it adds, life to your forest. It makes it look like it's alive, things are moving, it's not just dead. So, you can make this stuff really fast if you wanted it to be like storming out. And as you can actually hear, when you turn that up, there's audio in the background. I don't know how well you can hear that, but in the game you'll notice that it makes kind of like a wind blowing sound. So go ahead and turn it down because we're not going to have it storming out. And I think I usually will use somewhere around 6, between 6 and 10 seem good. You can go a little bit lower to like 4, but I like 6 to 10. Those are my numbers. And then we can actually make it storm. So if we change this, you'll hear like a rain sound come on. It will start raining out. We're not going to use that. The next thing we're going to jump into here is fog. So we'll go ahead and open our environment menu, open this up, and as you can see, there's a lot of different stuff in here that we can edit. A lot of it I don't really find myself using just because it isn't of any use to me. But there is some stuff in here that I really want to show you because it's very, very useful. So the first thing is density. Now density allows us to actually see the fog. If we go ahead and turn this up, you'll see it will get thicker and thicker. The next thing is minimum height. Now the one thing you have to understand about this is the minimum height of the fog is the thickest, the top is the thinnest. So an easy way to show you this is if I go ahead and I lower my max height, you'll notice the fog will start to disappear. But if I turn it up, what you can do with this is actually make it only appear at like the tree line if I wanted to. So if I put it up to like right here, you can see that it only goes as high as the tree line, but the mountains are unaffected by it. So you could kind of make it look like if I turn up the density, like I was looking down into a valley here filled with fog, but there isn't any up here. So that's kind of the premise of max height and min height, because if I turn this up, you'll notice now it will start to affect everything. So you can kind of get that little look if you're building rivers or anything like that. You can kind of put the fog on top of the river but have the rest of the ground unaffected by it. So I usually leave that at about 100. We'll turn the density down real quick here. I was just trying to demonstrate that to you. So the next thing is scattering, extinction, phase forward, backward, and lerp. Those are the things I don't really find myself using. They just don't seem to really change the look very much. So we have red color balance, green, RGB, same thing as lighting. So one thing we'll do is I'll show you this. If we go ahead and turn our density back up a little bit, we can change the color of the fog with this. So if we want to make it purple, or you're doing some weird type of stuff with that, you can make it red. You can make it orange for kind of like an extinction scenario. Now for us, I'm going to leave it pretty much white for this. I'm going to be boring. And if we cut out red, you'll see we kind of get this greenish type of look. Now I will actually put it about right there. Actually, that looks good. So I'll actually drop my red down to about 0.5, which gives us this kind of greenish blue look. And then we're going to go ahead and turn our density down because it's a little bit too strong for me. We'll lower it to about 0.9 seems about good. Actually, we'll go down more. I don't want it to be too heavy here, so that seems about good. It gets the effect across. So 0.7 is where I decided to leave it. Just play around with the numbers, just kind of eyeball it. And then fog top density, I don't use that either. Min height, max height, kind of the same settings as up top, just on the top of the fog. So I think this looks pretty good. Alright, so now that the fog is all set, we got that cool lighting effect that we want. The next thing we're going to go and look at is the backdrops. Now what these allow you to do is place mountains in the back that you don't even actually have to make. So we have 4 options. There's alpine, alpine snow, desert, and mountain. Now typically I like alpine a little bit better than mountain because it's a little bit more hilly. It just looks more realistic. The next thing we can do is change the height. So we can raise this up. Now if you put it too high, you'll notice you can start to see underneath it. So you don't want to do that unless you have hills on the side of your map to hide that. So about 8 seems good. You can also change the angle, which just allows you to kind of move it from left to right. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's all set there. Quick and easy. Alright, so post effects are essentially overlays that go over your screen. They change the way that all the lighting looks in the map. You can add vignettes down here. You can make your screen look dirty. I'll show you those in a second. But What we'll get into first is the color filters, which are exactly what they are. They filter the color to make it look a certain way. So there's a ton of options here, sunset, snow, there's like dream ones, there's a lot of different options in here, movie style settings. So we're going to go here and I think Himalayas looks good, so yeah, well, I guess we'll pick that one. The opacity is basically how strong the effect is. So if you lower this, the effect will become lesser. If you turn it up, it will become more prominent. So the effect itself here, we can change the vignette, and we can make the screen dirty as well. So vignette will kind of create this dark edge around your map, if you notice that. So I'm going to put one on, but keep it pretty subtle, so I'll lower it. Dirty obviously makes your screen really dirty like this, which I'm not going to use for this. I'm going to put on a vignette. And then exposure compensation, you can make it lighter or darker, so you can play around with those if you wanted your map to look any darker. I'm actually going to put this on -0.5, which adds just a tad bit of realism. Okay, so the last thing we're going to take a look at here is audio. So if we go ahead and open this up, we have two options here. The music theme is the song that will play when we're waiting at the loadout screen in the beginning of the map, and the ambient sound is basically the background noise. Now there's plenty of different options in here. There's ones for cities, woods, there's horror ones in here. I chose Jungle Quiet just because it matches this situation the best. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we've created here. We'll jump right in. So you can see we have this nice effect with the sun kind of glaring through the trees here. And overall the lighting just looks very, very realistic, which is what I was going for. So I hope this helped you guys out. If you benefited from this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. There will be more tutorials soon. I'm going to be covering how I design this type of terrain that looks very realistic in the next upcoming tutorial. So if you have any interest in that, stay tuned, and thanks for watching, guys.